For number 8, we have another one of those super healthy foods that everyone seems to overeat, but it's actually very high in calories. And that's Welcome back to Former Fat Guy Fitness. I'm Tyler, your former fat guy. Like I always say, what you throw in your mouth hole is the most important thing, hands down, to losing weight. You can't lift weights for 10 hours a week or run an hour every day to hope to burn enough calories to lose weight. If you're not watching what you're eating and you're not keeping yourself in a calorie deficit, there's no way you're going to burn fat. End of story, simple as that. As the old saying goes, you can't outwork a bad diet. So today, we're going to go over the top 10 foods that I avoided while cutting weight, and a couple of these are quote-unquote healthy foods that might surprise you. The first one being an obvious one though, and that is regular butter and oil. This is one of the obvious things you should watch when you're trying to lose weight. Monitoring your fat intake is crucial. So when I decided to lose weight, regular oils, regular butters, avocado oils, things like that, they had to go. Don't get me wrong, fat is an essential part of everyone's diet. It gives you feelings of satiety, and you get your essential fatty acids that way. I mean, that's why they call them essential. But they also have twice the calories of protein and carbs, so you really do need to keep an eye on it. If I ever needed to use butter or oil of any kind in my cooking, I just switched to a light butter, like I use Land O'Lakes with canola oil. It has half the calories of regular butter, and it gives me the same exact effect in my cooking that regular butter did. While today I do occasionally use some avocado oil or some extra virgin olive oil, I really do watch how much of it I use, because if you don't, those fat counts and calorie counts can really start to run away from you. Now for the next one, it's kind of a 2A and a 2B since they're the same thing, but first is peanut butter. When I decided to lose weight, this is one of those quote-unquote healthy foods that I was eating a ton of thinking it was healthy when it was actually having the opposite effect. Seriously, for lunch I would have 1, sometimes 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every single day thinking I was getting good protein and fats in, when all it was doing was just adding fat to me. Seriously, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, which who only has 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, has 190 calories and only 7 grams of protein. Compare that to PB Fit at 70 calories for a 2 tablespoon serving, not to mention it has more protein at 8 grams of protein, and it mixes great with Greek yogurt for a homemade peanut butter. While I do love me some peanut butter, it wasn't helping me lose weight, it was adding on to it. So I'll go ahead and take the homemade version of PB Fit, Greek yogurt, and some sugar-free maple syrup as a replacement any day when trying to lose weight. For 2B, it's the non-butter form of nuts. Much like peanut butter, people tend to think that nuts are a fantastic source of protein. And while they do have protein in them, they're a much better source for fat and calories. For this example, I'll just be looking at almonds because they're the lower calorie option compared to walnuts or pecans, but even still, 1 serving of almonds is only 24 almonds. Who only eats 24 almonds? And 24 almonds has 164 calories in it and 6 grams of protein. If you watch my diet breakdown video, the main rule I followed through my diet is the 10-to-1 rule. That's where for every 1 gram of protein, it needs to be 10 calories. And almonds has a ratio of 27. That's almost 3 times higher in the caloric density than I would eat on a diet. And even right now on my lean bulk, where I'm trying to put on muscle mass and eat more calories than I'm expending, I still don't eat nuts because of how calorically dense it is, and they just do not make me feel full whatsoever. For 3, 4, and 5, we're going to take a look at some fruit and vegetables that are quote-unquote healthy. Well, these are healthy, and they do have good vitamins in them and other good things in them. Just on a caloric level, they're not the best for weight loss. And number 3 is bananas. Now, I could have put grapes, coconuts, raisins, or anything like that in here for the fruit, but I use bananas because of how commonly eaten they are and how easy they are to overeat. For 100 grams of bananas, you're looking at 89 calories. Comparing that to a strawberry 100 gram serving, you're looking at 33 calories. While 66 calories doesn't seem like a major difference, just think about it. If you eat 300 grams of bananas, that's 270 calories. If you eat 300 grams of strawberries, that's only 99 calories. That's a 170 calorie difference. So while strawberries don't have any protein in them, you can eat plenty of strawberries, feel full, and not be behind the game on protein for the rest of the day. I'm speaking from experience. Anytime I would try to eat bananas, I would look at my calories at the end of it and go, wow, I just ate 200 calories, but I got no protein. I'm going to have to eat chicken and fish for the rest of the day now. And I didn't enjoy doing that. That's why I follow that 10-to-1 rule. So I can pretty much eat whatever I want as long as it's got protein in it. So bananas are one I would say avoid. For another fruit I would say avoid, it would be dried fruits. So I just told you how wonderful strawberries were, right? And how low calorie they are. That is until you make them dried strawberries. Just look at this example from Mountain Fresh Foods. I mean, for the same calories you can get in a 100-gram serving of fresh strawberries, you can only have a 10-gram serving of their dried fruit. Okay, first off, who only has 10 grams of something? Seriously, that probably wouldn't even fill up the palm of my hand. But second, they become this way because they dry the fruits out so much, it sucks all the natural juices out of them, and it just makes it a highly concentrated form of fructose. Well, fructose isn't bad. It's bad when you can only have 1/10 of the volume of food as you could in the actual regular fruit itself. So, once again, avoid dried fruits by any and all means. Now, for a vegetable option on this list that I would say is not the best option that many people consider healthy is avocados. I know someone out there got upset that avocados on this list. I mean, so many people love avocados and guacamole, myself included. One of the first foods I added back into my diet when I switched from weight cutting to bulking was avocados. However, if you're trying to lose weight, they're probably one of the first things I would recommend getting rid of. And this goes back to the same issue that nuts, peanut butters, and oils have. The fat is just too much to overcome. There's not enough protein in them to compensate. Just looking at a 100-gram serving of avocados, you got 160 calories and only 2 grams of protein. That's an 80 on the calorie to protein ratio. And like I said, I follow the 10-to-1 rule when I'm trying to cut weight. So while there are a great source of healthy fats in avocados, I genuinely would try to avoid these when you're trying to lose weight. For 6 and 7, we're looking at forms of dairy. And number 6, we've got milk. Whole milk. Now, I love dairy. Seriously. I would have 1, sometimes 2 glasses of milk with dinner on a nightly basis, no questions asked. However, when I started my weight loss and I began reading every label I came across, it broke my heart when I saw how many calories were in that glass of milk that I had on a nightly basis. Thankfully, though, there's an easy fix. Switch to almond milk, switch to coconut milk, or a fat-free milk. My go-to is the fat-free Fairlife. It's insanely high in protein and it's actually pretty damn good. But thankfully, that fix can also be applied to number 7, cheeses. Whether it's cheese, yogurt, milk, you can always find a reduced fat or a fat-free version of things. Now, it's not going to be as good as the fat-full version of things. You have to expect that. I mean, they pulled the freaking fat out of it, but it's at least a lower calorie, higher protein option. Seriously, when you get to the fat-free versions of these things, it's pretty much pure protein. Or if you like me and you like a good queso or a good melted cheese and you're not worried about processed foods, go with Velveeta. Whether it's the slices of cheese or the blocks of cheese that you can melt down, it makes incredible queso, it makes incredible dips, and it's actually a surprisingly good source of protein, and it's really low in fat. So I still use it in many of my recipes, and I ate that stuff obsessively on my weight cut. So don't be scared of the processed foods. Get you some Velveeta. For number 8, we have another one of those super healthy foods that everyone seems to overeat, but it's actually very high in calories, and that's granola. Seriously, a quarter cup of granola has 140 calories. Do you know anyone who eats a quarter cup of granola and goes, "Wow, I feel full"? Yeah, me neither. And that quarter cup of granola also only has 3 grams of protein, so it's almost a 50 on that calorie to protein ratio. That's almost 5 times higher for anything that I would need to eat on my diet that I followed for the 10-to-1 rule. And now, unless you're going to use it as a topping on a yogurt parfait or eat it alongside something with protein in it, I wouldn't go eating this stuff by itself. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing your tail on protein for the rest of the day. Now, number 9 was probably the toughest pill for me to swallow, and that's pasta. This broke my heart when I started my weight loss journey. I love pasta in all forms. Thankfully, there's a good alternative. If you look at the Barilla pasta you can get in stores, the calorie to protein ratio for them is almost at 30, and that's 3 times higher on the calorie to protein ratio than I would be looking for. Thankfully, the alternative, chickpea pasta, has 10 less calories for the same exact serving and double the protein. So it brings the ratio down to under 20. Now, while it's not the 10 ratio that I normally like to look for when I'm eating foods, it at least brought me close enough to my protein goals that I could compensate easier throughout the day on other meals, or even in the pasta dish itself, I could make it higher protein by going with Velveeta and fat-free Fairlife to add some protein in a mac and cheese bake. Or I could add some chicken and some fat-free Fairlife to do a creamy Alfredo pasta. And yes, I will have recipes for those out soon. Last but not least is number 10, rice. Just like pasta, I love my rice dishes. I love them a lot. But if you just look at 1 cup of cooked basic white rice, you got 240 calories and 4 grams of protein. For my mathematically challenged out there, that calorie to protein ratio is 60, aka horrible. Or if you're like me and you enjoy minute white rice because I am that fancy, it's got calories at 170, which helps a little bit, but not much. And sadly, I really haven't found an alternative on rice like I did with pasta. But I still enjoy my rice, so whenever I do it, I either need to have it with chicken or in my fried rice recipes that I do with pork loin or shrimp. Either way, if you're going to incorporate rice on a regular basis, you do need to compensate for the rest of the day with higher protein cuts of meat or just anything dense in protein that you can find. Because I do love my rice, but it's just not the best on protein. Now keep in mind, if there's a food on this list that you love, that's fine. Remember, in my book, there are no bad foods. There's just some foods that don't keep you as full, and there's some foods that aren't as high in protein. But genuinely, you can eat whatever you want as long as you keep yourself in a calorie deficit, you're gonna lose weight. But tell me down in the comments below, how many of the foods on this list do you eat? Do you agree with my list? Do you think there's anything on this list that shouldn't be on here? If you've learned something new, hit the like button down below, or if you want to support the channel or see more coming from me down the road, hit the subscribe button. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.